The New York Times carried a front-page photo this week of the moment before Syrian rebels executed 7 Syrian soldiers. The image from video shot in 2012, though the Times originally reported it as 2013. Well, Americans may see that picture as proof that the Syrian rebels are as vicious as the regime that they are trying to oust. But is that an accurate conclusion? I want to bring in Fareed Godri of the Syrian Reform Party. His Washington-based group is working for regime change inside Syria. Fareed, thank you for joining us this morning. And first of all, explain to us what we saw on that cover there, because obviously the president is making the case that we need to, the U.S. rather, needs to assist the rebels, and yet we see this kind of outright execution, if you will, that they are carrying out against the soldiers.
Well, as you said, this is an old picture, and I think it's been somehow planted back into the psyche of the American people to stop what is right for the president to do here in this case. Remember that most of the Syrian opposition are officers who have defected from the Syrian army. These are vetted officers. These are officers and conscripts who the Assad regime would have never hired them or had them into their system had they been jihadists.
But Fareed, I think the point here is that you have many different groups that are part of the opposition. So there's not just one particular group, and there clearly are some people within the opposition who are capable of carrying out these kinds of acts. So how do you explain how the American people should support the opposition when there are so many different groups, including members of al-Qaeda elements and these kind of fringe groups that you see carrying out those kinds of executions?
You need to rely, first of all, the al-Qaeda group are all foreigners, and they'll leave Syria one day, and we will chase them out. You need to rely on advisors, secular Syrian oppositionists and liberal oppositionists to kind of highlight the difference, highlight who is on the ground doing good work and who's on the ground doing the Islamist work, which we all oppose. So I think it's very important to kind of extend a hand to those elements within the Syrian opposition who are able to distinguish between the two groups. And as well, many people within the NEA department, Ambassador Feltman and others, who are very privy to such information, who are able to gauge the Syrian opposition and able to provide the proper information. And there are other people as well you can extend their hand to.
So, assuming that might be possible, that people will be able to figure out and sort it all out on the ground, who's who, the president is not calling for regime change, as your organization is advocating for. Do you think that this is the wise course of action for a limited military strike?
Well, I think the limited military strike will have a psychological impact on the regime. Remember that the United States has never attacked Syria, or the Assad regime. And so in any attack against that regime will have a great impact. What I would recommend if I was advising the president is to, once the attack happens, is not to evacuate the U.S. Navy. Just keep them in place so that Assad knows that any claims of victory after a small strike, after a limited strike, will be hollow. Because as long as the U.S. Navy is in place, Assad will behave. And I think it will send a strong message to everybody, to our allies in the region, that the United States is serious. And I think it will strengthen the position of the president, something we all need to rally around today. So Syrian regime change is the goal. How do we accomplish that is the difficult question that we all face. I think that an internal coup is the ultimate and the best way to do this. And in order for us to do the coup, we have to separate Assad, peel Assad away from the minorities that support him. And unfortunately, we did not do a good job early on by outsourcing the Syrian opposition work to Prime Minister Erdogan of Turkey. And so what we need to do is actually redevelop, reconstruct the opposition and help the minorities in Syria understand that the alternative to Assad is one of them, is part of them, and we are all going to share in that.
All right. Fareed Godri, thank you so much for your insights here from the Syrian Reform Party out of Washington.